This time on Captain Chaos's Laboratory, we're going to be working on the Department 56 roller rink, polar roller rink. Yeah, polar roller rink. I put one of the characters on there. There are two right there. And no movement. But it does light up. You can see a light bulb. So, something internally has failed. So, first, let's get him off. I'm going to tip it upside down and see if we can get this bulb out. So this is a 12 volt AC unit, if you don't have it. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to see the motor's right here. See if I rotate this a little, if you can see it better. Kinda. You can see where it's white and then it goes dark. That's actually the actual motor. And the way to take it apart appears to be right here in the center, because the bottom is cast. Or this entire disc comes up. I'm going to assume it's the disc, actually. But I don't know how much slack there is since they glued the wire. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the glue so we can increase the slack. And I'm going to unscrew the bulb to prevent it from being broken, because they are glass. I'm just going to cut this chunk off for now. This is just the glue. Just want to get it out of the way. That way the wire is more flexible and I have some slack to pull through. And then I'm going to go ahead and just set the bulb socket sort of back into place. I'm not going to put it in all the way. I just want to recess it a little bit so I have some room. It's not going to stay. Pry a little here and see what I can see. Let's get the bulb socket all the way in. So when I got this, these were already loose. All I did was take it out of the box and set it up and plug it in to see if it made a funny sound, because all I was told is it doesn't work. So it looks like that is the way to do it, so we're going to have to fire up the heat gun. But before I do that, I just want to get rid of this chunk. It's a little OCD thing, you know. That, and it's also sitting on the edge of it. Oh. The reason this doesn't want to come off as easy as the rest of it did is because this is heat shrink with glue. Probably use it for anti-chafing. Hot glue and heat shrink, they bond together really good. let's get to the repair. So let's fire up the heat gun. Now I know, because I can see up underneath, and when the light bulb is out, there's no screws. You can see all the way up to this. Which I'm going to pull this out so it doesn't get broken. So this center section is attached to this white ring that's inside of the disc, and it's not attached in the center, meaning there's no central screw. So with having the light socket partially out, I can spin this like a lazy Susan and try and heat relatively equally around the edges, because the porcelain isn't a big deal. It's the plastic disc that everybody drives around on. That's the concern. I don't want that warping. Just going to set that away. So it is starting to separate. It's not going to be a very fast process because there's apparently a lot of glue. But now that I have some edge open, shoot some heat inside. Again, don't keep it in one spot too long. You risk melting the plastic. The reason I'm moving the heat gun over to the side is if I put it back on the cradle, it'll start to cool down. If I have it too close to me, I'll burn myself. Yeah, there's a lot of adhesive in here. There is. Nope. Let's try this one. Cutting the strings of adhesive. I got warm enough to allow for stretch. Now we just need to lift her up. I think we can get it from here. Let's put that back in the cradle. So now it's cooling itself down before it turns off. So if you haven't seen the previous videos where I've mentioned that, the station I use, when you dock the heat pen, it runs it to where it gets down to basically boiling, 212 degrees, and then it turns off. Because it's in Celsius, it's 100 C. So on this, once you get an edge, if you can get it warm, you can probably use a standard heat gun or even a hair dryer. and you can get one side to lift up. Just lift it with a small screwdriver and work your way around it to cut the adhesive. Because the adhesive, once it's warm, will stretch. It'll kind of look like glue strings. And apparently there's some adhesive right here. There we go. Now you can open it up. So it's 12 volt, 10, 12 RPM counter or clockwise rotation. And the screws come in from the top, which is strange. How do we separate the next disc? Might have been wrong. You might have to actually remove this center warm-up hut. So yeah, you have to remove the warm-up hut. It's glued right here in the middle. This collar is glued into that hole. And the reason is there's no way to get to the screws of the motor, but you can, if this gets caught inside and you can't pry it out from the bottom, you can take the top off and push it back through. Now, separate the layers of disc here. There's a couple of drops of adhesive, which I can't tell if that's from somebody trying to repair the glue on the railing, or if it's actually got adhesive in these two small spots. I'm thinking it's probably the railing, but unfortunately it did chip. Alright, that was a treat. So what's nice is this does have a bearing. It's that big silver ring right here that spins. I need to set this somewhere where it won't get grease everywhere. And there's our motor. So this is a very similar motor to most of the Rinks they use. It's a low profile, large gear driven motor. And I am out of them. I'll have to order it. And there we go. So it's a double keyed shaft. So it kind of looks like two flat sides with two round ends. So let's plug it in and see what it's doing. There is no resistance whatsoever on it. Or, sorry, no try to move. It's not pushing against me. And just to make sure that the power is still good, I'll put the bulb back in. Didn't go in straight. Sometimes these plastic sockets are fickle. No, what happened to our juice? There it is. Yeah, it's just not in straight. Okay, so we do have power. I'm going to test the power coming out of the splitter because this motor is not humming, not even getting warm. Let's see, how good is our solder up here? Got 12 volts. So we are sending power to the motor, but apparently the motor has actually died. Sometimes the internals break free and it free floats, or they short out, but if it's shorting out, this should be dim or flickery or not even working. So this just needs a new motor. Which is a very common Rink motor. So it's a motor that's easily accessible. I get them from Happy Holiday Parts. And so I'll order a motor, we'll get back. When I get it, we'll get this thing back together. And so technically, if you have this piece, you can do it all by removing the hut and then the discs. But if you still aren't getting anything working, you could have a bad distribution box, which is basically, it's just the wires come in from the power, they go in and they split and go in two directions, one to the bulb, one to the motor. So generally, like I said, if the motor shorts out, the bulb will be dim or non-functional because the motor is the least path of resistance for most of the electricity. So most electricity is going to head in one direction and not to the bulb because the bulb's got more resistance. Now, like I said, this is kind of odd that the motor's not humming. Most synchronous motors, when they die, they hum. They go, or you can feel them vibrate, or they get warm. Okay, she's starting to get warm now. So it is bad. Just taking a few minutes. It's not a very powerful motor in the sense it's a 12 volt motor, not a 120 volt motor or bigger. So, but anyhow, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'm going to get that motor ordered. Set the discs inside so they don't get lost or damaged. I'm going to set this back in its box. So that way, once the motor comes in, we can reassemble it, make sure it works like it's supposed to. Clean it up, re-lubricate it, the whole nine. Get this thing back to close to original functionality. Now, if you have any of these and you see the warpage around the center, it's hard to see because it's clear. You kind of see the bow. Don't try to fix it unless it's really bad. This one doesn't matter because it's under the hut and it's from the glue where they glued it right here. There's a glue spot there, there's a glue spot there, there's a glue spot there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 dots of glue plus the center ring right here has got glue on 1, 2, 3 spots. That's where they glued it into the bottom. Reason is when you heat this to try and flatten it, the rest of it will start to wrinkle. Once you wrinkle it, you no longer have a flat surface for these characters to ride on. So if the warpage isn't too bad, just leave it. While this is apart though, you can clean it. Clean both sides, so that way if there's any dirt trapped between this disc and this clear disc, you can clean them off, both of them, which we'll do when we reassemble, because we're going to get it dirty with our fingers. And then, if you have some furniture polish, you can polish the disc to where the people slide more smooth. So, anyway, so shall return probably for you instantly. For me, 2 weeks. It's usually about 7 to 10 days is the time to get the motor. So we'll have this fixed in November, ready for Christmas. All right, we're back with the Polar Roller Rink. So the new motor arrived. Came with a new gear, but the gear is made for a different rink. So you can see there's kind of a size difference. So I don't need the gear. I'm not going to throw it away. I just don't need to use it for this piece. But this is the closest motor to this one. There's a slight difference in the way it comes out here, but it shouldn't affect the functionality of the unit. This specific motor, this is the closest to this specific motor, I guess I should say. So this specific motor isn't available, so you just got to get the closest for the referencing the numbers. So we're going to go ahead and take this guy out. So it's been a few weeks, just so you know. This has been in a box for a few weeks because it took a little time to get the motor and make sure that's all I needed. I had to order a whole bunch of stuff, so I wanted to not order things like 4 or 5 times. Saves on shipping that way. There we go, motor's out. So the slight difference is right there. The output shaft is slightly taller. I'm hoping it's not going to cause any problems because this is the closest motor that you can cross-reference. One screw. Now when you buy the motor, I got it from Happy Holidays Parts, and as I said, it's the closest thing cross-referencing the motor that was in here. This motor is the same motor that they use in the London skating rink and a few other rinks. So the motors are pretty interchangeable. The gears aren't, as you can tell. There's quite a size difference. It's not magnetic. I'm not fighting with it on the screwdriver tip. Make sure they're snug. So where the interference would come in would be the height of the screw. So the new screw comes with a lock washer. Man, fingers don't want to work today. There we go. There we go. Nice and snug. And then now we'll set this on and make sure there's no interference. So, looks like we have a little bit of interference. Now we're going to get this back off. Shouldn't be, that's the thing. Oh, no, there is. Alright, let's see if the original screw is the same threads. The original screw is shorter. So the screw has to be below those right there, and this screw sits just above it. And it could be the lock washer. Usually they're always the same threads, usually. It's better, but I'm concerned. There we go. Yeah, that one actually might work. Now we need to connect the wires to test it. So this comes with a zip tie. The zip tie is so you can zip tie your wires out of the way. This one was hot glued. That's probably what we're going to end up doing with this one too, if we can ensure this motor works. Meaning that the interference issue, not that the motor works, meaning that it's, you know, functional. I'm hoping it works. It's brand new. So soldering iron's heating up. While it's doing that, I'm going to strip some insulation off these wires. I am going to solder them back on with heat shrink. Some of the units actually have wire nuts, which technically works fine. It is an AC motor, which is why the wires are not color coded. They're just there. So it doesn't matter which one you hook up to which one. Alternating current, it doesn't have a polarity like DC or direct current does. So there's no negative and positive. Those are soldered, but this came untwisted. There we go. That should do. The wires are a little longer than I need, so I'm going to cut the ends off. Same with this one. So I stripped like a little over a ½ inch. I only need like a ¼ inch. It's not like I don't have lots of wire to use. I'm just going to set this down so we can plug it in and test it. And I'm going to turn off my soldering iron now. So we should be done with it. It's turning. It's not grinding, not making any sounds. This is kind of jerky though. It's kind of strange. The grease is what makes it kind of hard to pull out. So there's no marring I can see on this inner track, right in here where you can see the edge of the gear rubs. I think the reason it's jerky is I'm going to have to put a washer in there. See how the gear moves? That shaft is a little too tall. It's allowing the gear to move horizontally, and that's not good. Or, let me double check one thing. First, let's unscrew this. Yeah, that's the motor's a hair taller, so I need something to take up the slack. So I'm going to put it underneath the gear. I'm going to try. And I'll tell you why in a second. That's better. That's a lot higher. So the reason I'm putting it under the gear is because the teeth are meshed with the top. You can see there's a little bit of a gap at the bottom. If I put on top of the gear, it means the gear might be at the low end of these teeth. I want to make sure we have a good mating surface. This screw has a big fat, they call a pan head, and that's so you don't have to use a washer. Oh, much better. There's still a little bit of lateral movement, but there's not any rocking movement. So let's see if that takes up. some of the jerkiness. I gotta get the line up on the teeth. There we go. Stay. There we go. There was a little bit there when I tipped it, but other than that, she's a lot smoother. I think that little rubber spacer worked pretty good. Need you to come out. There we go. What's happening is the grease is sticky, and then once it hits the bottom, it's sticking and creates suction. It doesn't want to come back up. So I got a new glue gun because the other one was dying on me slowly. And this one's digital. The numbers are only flashing because the camera is picking up the multiplexing. I have it set for 200 degrees. I'm using the stick it came with in case I need to return it. I don't waste my sticks. And we're going to test it out. See how it works. It's advertised on the Amazon page that it works on DeWalt and Milwaukee batteries. So we're going to see if it works any better than the other one I was using, which the connections are dying on the bottom. So this will be the test, my test piece. I want to glue the wires right there. It's taking a little bit of time to get hot. Well, my battery was at 3 bars, now it's at 2. It doesn't come with adjustable tips. The one I was looking at that's wired does. But there we go. Now it's all the way in. It's never been used, so it's going to probably suck an entire glue. There we go. Well, it actually got hot way faster than the other one, and it's not even up to full temp yet. So I can probably turn this thing down. It's nice as it's digital. I'm going to turn it down to 150. It's at 146 right now. There we go. I'm only going to get a half a glue stick out of it because I had to prime the barrel where the heater is. Not a problem. Came with like 25 sticks. This is just for testing. And then if it works, I'll start putting in my shirt bonder sticks, which I love. These are just generic Chinese sticks. They should technically hold this just fine. It's not like the wires can go anywhere when it's up against the porcelain. It's not cooling down fast. Just trying to cool it down. And we're going to move this because she's about to drip. So it's a Monvict. Monvict. I'll put a link below if anybody's interested in it. But if it works with the generic aftermarket batteries from DeWalt, I would love to use it if it continues to get hot enough. So now it's holding. So it takes a little longer to cool down than Surebonder. It is what it is. Alright, now I need to pull the bulb out so I can pull the slack through. I think it goes that way. Right there. So the porcelain has a flatter spot for the motor on this side, which lines up the entrance to the stairs. Now, I put the light bulb back in. That way I don't break it. I have spares, I just don't want to clean up the glass. Stupid wires. There we go. Apparently I just need to rotate it 180 to get the clip in. It's just getting caught on the wires that come out of the unit. Like that one right there. There we go. So, since we know that that's good and I got it lined up, let's run a bead. I'm not going to use hard glue. Eventually it's going to be taken back apart. Only because it's, you know, animatronic, so it's going to fail again. I guess because this is taking longer to cool down, and it might be because of the temperature I'm running at, I guess it gives you a couple of more seconds of work time before it solidifies. Glue strings everywhere. Turn it off. Should be done with the hot glue. The railing that's broken I'll glue down with Gorilla Glue. Get all the glue stripped out. Should still be warm enough for me to tack down the right here where they had it glued. That glue's hot. It doesn't come with any instructions, so I cannot tell you, but I'm assuming the 150 is 150 degrees Celsius based on the extreme heat that's coming off that glue that I just put my finger in. So it goes as low as 2, which 2 degrees Celsius would be, you know, useless. And it goes all the way up to 200. But like I said, there's no instructions. It's a glue gun. I'm sure they just figured you'd figure it out. But if you buy hot glue or any other type of material that fits in a hot glue gun and it has a temperature rating, this has that digital temperature display, which, you know, could come in handy. Is the light not in all the way? way. No, it's not. That later. There we go. Drop in. I don't think it's going to work as good as it used to. I think that slightly higher shaft is going to still be a small problem. This light bulb's driving me crazy. I am going to remove it. See if I can tuck the wire around. It must have the, no, the power wire's not in the way. It's just this metal bracket doesn't want to recess. There we go. Now it's recessed. So we know this goes in here and it gets glued down. But my concern is, I think that disc is just a hair too tall. Yeah, it's getting caught on this, which means if it's getting caught on this, it's going to get caught on that. So I'm going to flip the gear upside down, which is going to lower the profile, and see if maybe I was just a hair too high. There we go. It's the kind of stuff you have to do when they don't make the OEM parts anymore. You just have to play with it till you get it. I think that sits better now. It's not interfering with it now. Yeah, there's the tab. It's only got one tab. Right there. That's how it's supposed to be. All right. Actually, I might use hot glue for the fence, because if I use hot glue on this fence and I touch it to where it's holding this, it won't spin. We'll turn that back on, and we'll glue her down. See, is it still hot enough? Sure is. What's nice about hot glue is any of the extra that squeezes out, you can trim off once it dries or cools down. So I'm only doing this for the dual fold. Hold the fence in and hold the disc from spinning. Because it's still on. I'm going to do all it's on to make sure that nothing I do stops it from rotating. And this has the finger sticking out. It kind of looks like a big gear or a cog. It's because it goes underneath the railing, and that's what holds this. So it is important to have your railing attached. That's kind of sort of what holds this big plastic disc, it looks like. Or was this disc underneath? It's been so long I forgot. Oh, this was underneath, wasn't it? No, it shouldn't have been. Those are the scrape marks from the characters. I might have to go watch the first part of the video. Like I said, it's been, I don't know, 5-6 weeks. It takes a while sometimes to get the parts just for the shipping, storms, work. No, it's lining up to the rails. It's got different notches for the different openings. I think I just had it out of the alignment because those are double notched for right here. There we go. So I'm in the trouble spots right here where I just glued it down. So I'm going to have to cut the glue, slide it under, and then do the glue again. One of the nice things about hot glue. It should lift now to where I can slide it under. There we go. So I'll clean up the old glue and then we'll put down another bead in just a moment. There's the I don't know if it had all four when it was given to me. I never even checked. I'll check the box. I don't need a zip tie. Well, since I have it open, I might as well just screw the bulb in real fast. And so, like I said, there's a little notch here. Now I gotta find the notch because I rotated this. Okay, the notch is right there. So, notch is right here. There we go. That's not held in. The notch just is for alignment. It was glued in, so I'm going to have to put a little bit of glue on it. I'm going to use hot glue again so it can be separated in the future. But that way I know the door is kind of facing towards the entrance. There's a door on this that's facing towards these two flags. So, but yeah, that's as far as it can move in that notch. And what this does, not only does it hold it, but it also keeps the plastic because it wants to bow up in the middle like a teepee or a tent. So then you get the little... So it looks like we got Santa in a golf uniform, maybe Mrs. Claus, an elf that looks like Santa. Now I'm only going to glue the center. And I'm only going to glue the outside edge because I don't want it going into the inside edge where that big bearing is. And I'm just going to hold it down. One of the reasons I'm leaving it on while doing this is that way if anything I do stops or interrupts the movement, then I know to stop, take it back apart, and see where I'm binding. But in the upcoming videos, you'll probably see this more because I'm going to probably use the entire bag, and if I don't like it, then I'll return it. Or I'll use a couple of sticks. So far, it's not too bad. I mean, you have to press the button for like 3 or 5 seconds to turn it on and 3 or 5 seconds to turn it off. I mean, that's understandable, so you don't actually bump it. I'm used to the other one where the off-on switch is right here. It's more than down here. To me, that's more user-friendly when you have the switch here. Size-wise, they're pretty similar. This one's longer. But this one's rated for 20 volts, 18 and 20 volt batteries. This one's only rated for 14, and I run it on a 20 volt, which is probably why it's dying, is because I'm overpowering this. This handle's not too bad. This one you kind of got to use all 3 of your fingers, because if you notice the grip, ergonomically that's great, but then you just start crushing your finger. So you can't, so you have to do 2, if not all 3 or 4, which kind of awkward. This one is got notch for 3 fingers, and So it's just different. It's definitely a brighter yellow. Should be good. Yep, I can lift the unit off the ground. So I think that's going to take care of the polar roller skating rink. Do a low light. I mean, it's not much because it's just a bulb, but at least it's something. That is a lot brighter on the camera than it is in person. The house does glow, but not as bright as it shows here. Here's your door. Not as bright, but it can see the bulb. That's really bright because you're looking right at the bulb. There's some windows. And in the back there's a door, but it doesn't have any holes in it. So that way, if you can see it from the back, it doesn't look horrible, meaning it's not done. But it should be presented like this, where you're looking at it from this 180-degree viewing angle. Because that's when you have the openings for the windows on the sides, the door, and then the window right here. There's no window right here. There you go. It's supposed to have 4 characters. At least I think it is, since it has 4 magnets. I'm going to check the box. I'm going to put the characters back in the bag with the little roller skate. And then let the person know, like they're coming back, sorry, that their piece is done. A little bit of modification. Not a lot, just a little. Because the OEM motor doesn't exist anymore. So what I use to lift the gear up a little bit to give it tension, nope, there's no other characters in the box, so either it only came with 3 or they lost 1, or they didn't give it to me. I only needed 1 or 2 characters to test it, and even then I could just, I don't always test it like that. I can literally just do that and see if they're spinning correctly. So anyway, so the part I use to lift the gear is a little O-ring. I got a couple of little O-rings in a kit. They're itty bitty, and they're just slightly smaller than the shaft diameter. But what that does is it's I can stretch it to fit it around, so I'm not worried about walking, and I can control the thickness. The tighter I make the screw, the more compressed the O-ring will get. And the O-ring should last a very long time. A steel washer would work too, but then you got to find a steel washer the right size and one that's not too big that doesn't interfere with the gear, because the gear has that recess section. So, itty bitty little O-ring works perfect. The box they gave me is a generic box. They don't have the original packaging, so it's just wrapped in plastic. So on a difficulty scale, it's not terribly hard. It's kind of annoying the way it's assembled, where you have to break that center section free and hope you don't break the part the bulb sits in, because that's what holds that bearing in. But it is nice it has a bearing, because that bearing ensures longevity. You don't have metal on metal or metal on plastic. You have, well, metal on metal technically with the bearing, but it's lubricated and it's kind of nice. Reduces friction, less strain on the motor, less stress on the unit, less friction, less amperage draw. And I've noticed even on the modern ones, Limax is putting metal bearings in their stuff too. So I think that's going to be the new longevity thing that they're going to start doing, because it only makes sense. And bearings are cheap now. They're not like they used to be. So. But that concludes the Polar Roller Rink from Department 56. Questions, comments, put them below. Hopefully that helps you if you have something similar, like the London skating rink or what have you. And if you do order the kit from Happy Holiday Parts, they send you stuff like this to tell you on how to do the soldering, the connection, the differences in the shaft, your QR codes for the belts and how to install it. Like I said, this was the London Skating Club because it's the only motor that matched. I know the gear is wrong. The London Skating Club uses a much larger gear, But the motor is the closest, and the only difference between the OEM motor that they came with and the new motor is that is a 1/16 of an inch taller, which with the screw it comes with is too tall. With the OEM screw, it's fine, but you will have to take up a little bit of slack, and I just use an O-ring. You can use a washer. You can make one out of paper. You can get some construction paper, cut a circle, stick it on there. Whatever you need to do to take up some of the slack, because the new gear is thicker because the shaft is taller, so that's thicker. But unfortunately, the exact height of the original, couldn't find it. So that's another reason it took so long. It wasn't just waiting for the parts, which that was a big part of it. It was trying to find an exact motor, and because of its age and the fact that they make 1 million units and they make 1,000,010 motors, you're never going to find a spare. Unless you find a broken one that is broken like they dropped it, because on this, the only thing that can break is the motor, unless you drop it. And then because it's porcelain, it'll shatter. Porcelain and plastic combined. So I'll link below, but if it doesn't work, just go to happyholidayparts.com and look up London Skating Rink. You'll get the motor, and you don't have to buy the gear. I thought the gear was the same size, so I wanted a backup, and it's not, but that's fine. I will have a spare gear for a London Skating Rink. I do work on those occasionally, but there you go. So any questions, comments, I said, put them below. Until the next one, thanks for watching.